Well, hey, everybody. Dennis Tooley here with the MS Warriors Way podcast and Multiple Sclerosis TV. And today we are in for a treat. The guest that is going to be joining us here on this episode is a friend of mine. I've known for several years now. And he's an intriguing young man who has just an interesting story of his journey with multiple sclerosis. And he and we actually met on one of the MS Cruisers events. And in other episodes, either on the podcast or on video, you've heard me talk about MS Cruisers. And want to make sure and let you know that if you have any questions about MS Cruisers, you can go to mscruisers.com and find out the information about the group that goes out. It's a group, literally, people that have MS, family members, caregivers. It's a great group that goes out. They try to go once a year. Because of COVID-19, the 2020 cruise kind of got jacked up, and so it's now the 2020 cruise is actually moved to 2021, and I'm going cruise crazy. So I'm ready for that. But anyway, my good friend Rudy Yanuck is going to be joining us here, and I asked him to share from his insights. What does he do to find the positive in a negative situation? And so he'll be joining us here in just a second here on the MS Warriors Way podcast and here on MS TV. So without any further ado, let me see if we can get him on here, and let's have a conversation with Rudy. Hey, Rudy.
Hey, Dennis. How you doing?
Welcome to Multiple Sclerosis TV and the MS Warriors Way podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Rudy, let's start out by having you give us a little bit of your background. When was it that you were diagnosed? What was it that kind of led to that diagnosis? And maybe give us a little bit of that background of how you joined this fantastic journey we call the Warriors Way.
Yes. Well, I was diagnosed in 1994 during my surgery internship at the Naval Hospital in San Diego. It was during a urology rotation, which I was on. And on Fridays, the surgery interns would operate with the department chairman. The following Monday, the chairman called me into his office and told me that I will go to the ophthalmology department for my appointment the following day, and I will get an MRI. No explanation or anything. And, I had been having some up-close depth perception problems in the operating room. I thought I had been able to compensate for that adequately, but apparently not. Then I started thinking, what's going on here? What's going on? I had noticed some other difficulties that I had throughout the year, non-specific, symptoms like difficulty with touch sensation. I had trouble feeling femoral pulses, fatigue, I was a surgery intern. I was working long hours and days on end. So I asked a fellow intern mate of mine, I said, hey, are you tired? And he goes, am I tired? I've been up for the last 36 hours. What do you think?
Yeah.
So I just assumed it was part of the job description, if you will. Or at least I tried to tell myself that. As time went on, I found it difficult for me to travel up and down stairs rapidly, with the surgery team, as the team would be just gliding down the stairs, their feet seemingly not even touching. I would be left slogging behind, one step at a time. So anyway, I had my ophthalmology appointment, which I wasn't too worried about that because I had seen the neuro-ophthalmologist a few weeks earlier, a few months earlier, 2 months to be exact. And it was part of a flight surgery evaluation. And I had obviously passed that because I had flight surgery orders in hand. I'd been chosen to go to flight surgery following my surgery internship year. So I wasn't worried about that. But it was the MRI scared me. I didn't know what was going on, but I had everything seemingly all lined up for my life, how my life was supposed to go.
Right.
And so I had the MRI, and the following day, I called the radiology department, and I spoke to the neuroradiology resident, and he was reluctant to talk to me. See, radiologists, they're only used to talking to other physicians.
Right.
Well, patients. They never talk directly to patients, but I was kind of in a special category. I was both.
Right.
Reluctantly and stressing, oh, this is just preliminary, hasn't been finalized yet. But then he went on to read to me what ultimately became word for word the final diagnosis of the report. And I listened to it, thanked him, and I hung up the phone. And I slowly and steadily walked towards the closest men's room, throat closing, heart pounding, and eyes welling. And as soon as the latch on the door closed behind me, I just collapsed in the corner to the floor. No massive weeps and sobs. So anyway, so that's how I became diagnosed. It actually was what's known as an incidental finding. They're not looking for it, but they run across it.
Yeah, and that was you were. And so you were in the Navy. You had your life planned out. You were going to go into not was surgery your ultimate goal? You wanted to be a surgeon, or what was it that you ultimately wanted to? Yeah. So
yes, I mean my plan was, and it was just falling into step. Doing my surgery internship, then go do 3 years of flight surgery, which a life kind of like Tom Cruise and Maverick and Goose from Top Gun, like that. Getting to fly planes, and after that, orthopedic surgery residency, and then a career as an orthopod. That was my destiny. And
so hearing that diagnosis kind of hit you sideways. You saw, because as a doctor, you understood probably better than a lot of non-doctors, people like me. When I was diagnosed, I may not have had the depth of understanding of what that diagnosis really meant at the time, where you had kind of at least an idea of what may be coming down the path for you. Well,
being a physician didn't really prepare me for it, I'll be honest. And that has absolutely nothing to do with it. What really prepared me for it, my father had multiple sclerosis, and three of my aunts had multiple sclerosis. And with the four of them, I pretty much had the whole gamut of what's possible with MS in the future. Two of my aunts, my one aunt is now 86. She's had it for over 60 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And she would pass for a typical person, a non-MS person. My other aunt, she's got a little limp, but other than that, nothing. Now, my dad and his sister, one step up, I guess. They both had they were wheelchair restricted and highly limited. I used to call them functional / non-functional quad. So I kind of saw the gamut in front of me.
Yeah.
So when I heard the diagnosis, when I got the report, I was shocked, but I wasn't surprised, because I knew that, hey, I could still have a full life in
Right.
spite of multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
So it might not be the life that I had planned and dreamed on, but it was a life that I could be happy with.
Right. So let's fast forward a little bit then. You got that diagnosis. You were still, you were seeing some of the symptoms that were slowing you down, but you were still pretty functional.
Oh, yes.
When you were diagnosed. So
yes.
Kind of take us in a little bit farther into the journey where things started to kind of fall off the rails for you then.
Things started to fall off the rails. For me, initially, it was just a diagnosis on paper. I had some symptoms here and there, but they were really nondescript. Nothing that you could say, aha, that's because of MS. It could have been for other causes. Excuse me. Now, the week after I got my radiology findings, I found out that I was going to become a father for the first time in my life.
Wow.
And then 2 weeks later, I found out it was twins.
Twice the fun.
Exactly. So, MS, who cares? I'm going to be dad.
Yeah.
Now, our firstborn, the twins, she died 4 days after birth. And, from complications. And that is really when my difficulties with MS started. The stress, the sadness, the depression overtook me. And that, with MS, as I'm sure you and anybody listening knows, you let your guard down, it just takes its opportunity.
All right.
And that's when things started. That's when I started having difficulty walking. That's when I started to need assistive ambulatory technology. I started using a scooter for distance walking, distance traveling. And, that actually turned out to be really freeing for me. With my walking difficulties, I found that I had kind of closed myself off. I didn't go to the mall, didn't take long walks, didn't go to the park, those kind of activities.
Right.
Just kind of fell off the radar for me. When I started using a scooter and having the access of a scooter, I could go to the mall, I could go to the park, I could go to the beach, take my family on trips. So that liberated me. As multiple sclerosis progressed over the years, my walking ability became worse, my balance, and it got to the point where I couldn't walk anymore. And now I'm in a wheelchair. So
you came to that place where you realized, okay, I need some assistance, and so you got the scooter. Now you're in the chair, but yet you realize there was some liberties that came with that.
Oh yeah, I get great parking. I don't stand in the line at amusement parks. I mean, everybody wants me to drive wherever we go somewhere.
Well, I want to take your car. I want to drive though, because I've seen. I'm just kidding. So when you look back at those changes that happened, I mean, the dream of being a surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, the dreams of kind of being the man and that. All of those things, and then the death of one of your firstborn, that all of those things can really weigh on you.
Yes.
And yet, when when we met, and every time we get together, you are a pretty positive, caring adult. That's how did you find the positive? How did you find the good in all of that, which seemed to be a pretty dark situation that you've walked through with all of this? Where are you finding the encouragement and the positive?
It took a while. It took me a while to finally accept myself. He just went blank. For who I was. I'll be honest with that. It was not easy. However, at the same time of my multiple sclerosis, I was all of a sudden a family man, and it was no longer just me that I was concerned myself with. And I kind of took a back seat to what I felt was important, raising a child. And that helped me muddle through the beginning part. And as time went on, I started realizing, for me at least, hey, this isn't terrible. I can still have fun. I can still do things. Maybe not the way I imagined doing them, but I can do them. Might take me a little longer and not as pretty as it used to, but I can still do it. I can still have fun.
Well, I don't know. I know when we've been on several cruises together, you put on your James Bond tuxedo and come into dinner, and the ladies all look at you like, oh, he's so. And I don't necessarily see that, but
Well, I don't think I'm your type.
Well, no, you definitely aren't. But so it's one of those things where I say it all the time that how we feel and how we embrace what's going on really has everything to do with the choices that we make.
Right.
As to, okay, am I going to let this monster take me down, or am I going to stand up in the face of the adversity, the negative, and am I going to find something to become stronger and better in the process? And that's one of the things that I appreciate about you as a friend, is to see you embrace everything that life is throwing at you and say, you know what, I'm still going to get up, I'm still going to have fun, and I'm still going to enjoy life in spite of all the stuff that has happened. I'm going to find enjoyment in life, and I'm going to live life with fullness. And so it's, to me, it's a hallmark of you, who you are, and the choices you've made to embrace life and still find the good in it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think that comes from, wanting to live in the here and now. Make the most of what you have right now, because the past is gone. The future's not guaranteed. The only thing you know is what's right now.
Right.
So, and if you don't appreciate what you have, you'll lose it. Because once it's gone, it's gone. So
let me ask you this. When somebody sees you now, they see you in a wheelchair. I mean, right now they don't, because the camera's positioned at such a place where we don't you don't need to do that. I was just, but if you went to a meeting someplace, you'd be rolling in your wheelchair, and that's where people see you. They don't necessarily know that you're in the chair because of MS, but when you're out and about, how do you approach sharing and letting people be aware of what multiple sclerosis is and your approach to living life in spite of the MS? How do you share that when you're going out and about?
Yeah, I find the easiest way to share is through levity, through humor. lightness. Yeah, when people see me for the first time, they think, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong? Is he okay?" They treat you with kid gloves, and I don't know if you've had that experience as well, but they treat you with kid gloves, so you just show them who you are. And yeah, I'm in a wheelchair, and I have the multiple sclerosis, but that's not me. I'm someone who has multiple sclerosis in a wheelchair. They don't have me. The wheelchair and MS doesn't have me. There's so much more to me than just those two facets.
Right.
So once you share yourself, and that's the biggest thing I've noticed, with my activities with the MS Society, people in general, but especially people with MS, seem to find it difficult to open up, let themselves out, show people who they are. And by doing that, you not only let yourself out, you let people in.
Yes.
And the more people can see you rather than your circumstances, the closer the bonds become and the friendships are made.
Right.
So
yeah. I know it's one of those things that people have a hard time showing who they are because they don't know how to deal with the fact that they have MS, or they've allowed MS to become who they are.
Yes.
And I say it all the time. I was Dennis Tooley before I was diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
And long after they come up with a cure for this bad boy, I'm still going to be Dennis Tooley. And so it's that process of saying, I'm going to be me, and I am now Dennis Tooley. Oh yeah, and I've got this little buddy that's chewing up the inside of my brain right now, multiple sclerosis. He's just along for the ride. He's a freeloader, but I'm going to still get out there and kick life in the teeth as much as I can, and so it's that process of making sure that you're Rudy, and you just happen to be Rudy who has.
Actually, before this MS, I was Dennis Tooley.
Well, everybody wants to be, I know, but not everybody gets to be.
No.
So, well, and it's interesting. You say, sometimes people, they see you in the wheelchair and they're like, "Oh, we got to be careful with him." I think the first time we met, I was like, "Oh, I don't know Rudy. Let's get to know him a little bit." And then the first time you busted my chops over something, I was like, "Okay, we're going to be friends." And this is not, he's not some puff patty here. He's okay. Let's have some fun. And so now I don't even really pay much attention to your wheelchair unless I'm trying to push you down the steps, or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you see me for me. I see you for you, because we let each other in.
Exactly. It's that piece of saying, "Hey, this is who I am. So I want you to know me. I want to get to know you. And in order to do that, we've got to get past the peripheral things of what do you have any medical issues?" And that's the thing. How many times did growing up did your mom say, "Go out and play," and you went outside and you found somebody out there and you're like, "Hey, you want to play? But first, tell me, do you have any medical issues I should know about?"
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you want to come over to my place? Are you allergic to anything?
So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's really, I think you're expressing perfectly. You need to become more childlike.
Yeah. Which doesn't take a whole lot from me.
I can't really mean it. I'm not saying immature. I'm not saying be immature.
Right.
However, when I was a kid, and I'm sure when everybody was a kid, there was nothing but pure joy, pure innocence and pure joy. And it's just with age and wisdom comes cynicism. And it's not easy, but you need to just let that aside and just be your inner child.
Yeah. And
You know?
and when we do that, it's amazing how simpler life becomes, and how much the things that tend to weigh us down and bring us down, they don't seem so big and heavy when you stop letting them be the focal point of your life.
Exactly. Those superficial, superfluous things get in the way of life.
Yeah.
You know, so
Rudy, what words of challenge or encouragement would you have for somebody who may be jumping in, watching this video, or they're listening to the audio version on the podcast? What words of encouragement or challenge do you have for them to help them see how they can find the positive in something that can be considered a very negative situation?
You know, I don't take issue with that statement. It's just a situation, and the situation is negative or positive depending on how you look at it.
Right.
Nothing's either good or bad. They're just things. And it's the emotions that you attach to these events that determine whether you see them as a positive or a negative.
Right.
So what was your question again? Oh, words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. You know, I like kind of what I said when I gave a commencement speech to Jefferson College one year. You know, they have reached their dream of graduation. That was a dream they had. Not the only dream, but a dream.
Right.
And they've accomplished that dream. Now, life has a way of getting in the way, as, you know, my story, you know, highlights of your dreams. Life has a funny way of stopping many of your dreams, but it can't stop you from dreaming. So find what makes you happy. Find what works for you. Do what you can to make it so.
Right. And when you set forth to pursue the dream, to pursue the happiness, it's I know a couple of years ago, the big talk was the law of attraction, which I didn't read the book. I don't really know all of what they were talking about, but the general gist of what I understood was when you really start to pursue what you want to see in your life, that's what kind of starts to be attracted to you. It starts to come to you, and I guess it's that process of what goes around comes around. When you're out there going after your dream and you're pursuing it with positive intention, it's going to show up. You know, it's kind of the way of karma. Although I didn't really know her very well. She was about 3 rows in front of me in math class, and I didn't know her very well. But anyway, so ultimately, we have choices in life.
Exactly.
And I do say this quite often. You know, we're not born winners. We're not born losers. We're born choosers.
Yeah.
And it's in that choosing that we get to choose. Am I going to view this as a negative thing and allow it to take me down? And let's be honest, when you get a diagnosis of an incurable chronic illness that is debilitating the way that MS can be, it can be pretty depressing, you know? And so it's natural that people would find themselves dealing with depression with MS. but you don't have to accept it and cling to it like a child with a teddy bear. You get to choose, okay, this is the reality. I have this disease. Now what? I'm going to choose to do what with it.
Right. It is what it is, and it becomes what you make of it.
Exactly. So
you know.
Well, Rudy, I want to thank you for taking some time to share with us your story of your journey with MS, and to share with us your thoughts on how do we find positive in a situation that, again, you said it well. The situation doesn't choose whether it's positive or negative. We choose to look at it and say that's a negative thing, but finding the positive and turning something into a positive situation, something you have done time and time again. When we look back at the stuff that's happened and your dream of being a surgeon and all that has changed, but yet you go on with life with some tenacity, some fullness, and some enjoyment. And it's you're a fun guy to hang out with, which is why I'm looking forward to the next cruise we get to go on, so we can find productive ways to engage people on the cruise. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
So
sure.
So
that's the one fun thing about the cruises. I've noticed that the more somebody busts on you on the cruise, the more they like and accept you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's that way with anything, pretty much. So
yeah.
when the second cruise we went to, when you started busting on me and just taking me to task on things, I was like, yeah, I'm in. He likes me. Because you felt comfortable enough with me to push buttons.
Yeah, and I think there are people that even though I've gotten very comfortable with them, I know that I can't necessarily push their buttons. I can't pick on them because their response would be hurt feelings, and I'd hear moaning and crying. It'd be oh, he hates me now. So I realize there are certain people I can't do that. I realized very early, okay, Rudy's the type of guy that I can bust his chops. He's going to laugh. He's going to turn around and find a way to bust mine as quickly as he can and get right back at me. So, which to me, it makes the time we get to hang out together that much more fun. It's like, where's it coming from next? Okay, I'm watching. So, hey, thank you so much for hanging out with me and sharing some time with me today. And I do look forward to spending some time with you sometime soon, and whether it's on the cruise or if I get over to St. Louis area, we can hang out and have some ribs or something. I don't know,
or bacon.
We do.
If there's any left now.
Well, there's never enough bacon. We're always running out of bacon, and I don't understand why. Hey,
if your followers, your listeners are interested in maybe finding out a little bit more about me, my blog is Rudys MS blog at blogspot.com. And I didn't think to have it to display the actual thing.
Well, I will. I'll try to put it in the descriptions in the show notes so that if you're watching the video on YouTube, down in the description, you'll see that, and you'll be able to find that information and go check out Rudy's blog, Rudy's MS blog.
Rudys MS blog at blogspot.com.
Okay, and we'll get that. We'll get that on the show notes, and so people can find you there, and also. If you want to hang out with Rudy, the best way to do that is to go on one of the MS cruises with us. And I know MS cruisers, the cruise got moved to May because of this whole Rona thing, and so it's May 3rd. May 3rd through the 9th of 2021 is the cruise, and it's on the Allure of the Seas with Royal Caribbean's, which is one of one of their big ships. So it's a lot of fun. I'd say what people ask me about the cruises, and I say, if you're going on a Royal Caribbean cruise, go on one of those Oasis class, which the Allure of the Seas is one of those Oasis class ships, because the ship is a destination onto itself, and then while you sleep, that big cool ship that's a destination onto itself takes you to other cool places, and and we have a blast on the cruise. We do all kinds of sort of fun stuff. Pardon?
You sleep?
Did I what?
On the cruises, you sleep?
Oh, usually when my wife says, "Okay, we got to pack."
Oh, okay. That's
because we got to put our stuff out. That's when I take a nap while she packs everything up. No. Otherwise, no, you don't sleep on the cruise because that you'd miss something. But anyway, I digress. So all of that to say, come hang out with me and Rudy on the next MS cruise with MS Cruisers.
Love to have you.
So anyway, Rudy, you take care of yourself, and we will be in touch real soon. And please tell your folks, your MS crew over there, all the folks that you hang out with there in St. Louis, tell them all I said hey, and we'll get together again soon, man.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, Dennis.
All right. So yeah, that's my buddy Rudy, and like I say, he's a fantastic guy, a lot of fun to hang out with, and so go to Rudy's blog, Rudy's MS blog at blogspot.com, I think he said, and so you check out his blog and see what he's talking about and sharing in his blog, and until the next time that we get together here on the MS Warriors Way podcast or here on Multiple Sclerosis TV, I want to thank you for joining us. If you find any of these videos helpful or encouraging, whatever, please do me a favor and like them and share them. But please subscribe. And if you're going to subscribe, go ahead and hit that bell, little small bell symbol. That'll get you notified anytime we upload a new video just like this one. It'll keep you informed about that, so you stay ahead of the game and you know when you want to jump on and check out the interview or the information that we're sharing here on Multiple Sclerosis TV or the MS Warriors Way. So until next time, go out there and do something today that's going to make yesterday really upset that it didn't happen yesterday, and it's going to make tomorrow giddy with excitement because it knows that something's great is going to happen. So live your life with some fullness, find the positive in everything that you do, and find the great things that are coming your way.